AI and the lessons of GPS. So think about GPS. It works most of the time, sometimes almost all the time, and we've become very highly dependent upon it, and especially if we don't know where we are. And the power and also the danger of technology is that reliance, because the reliance can become over-reliance. Think back to GPS. I think this is a fairly typical experience. This has happened to me several times. The GPS sent me in a direction which I kind of knew was not the right direction, but a few times I suspected it was not the right direction, but there was kind of a dilemma about, do I follow the GPS or do I follow what I think? And it's kind of interesting because GPS is very rarely wrong. There's been a couple times where I've seen it go in circles. Part of that might be because I think my GPS was outdated, but it gives the dilemma that you have to either trust yourself as a human being, or you have to trust. The same thing happens in cockpits and airplanes. Things are so automated that the pilot has to trust. Do they trust their own judgment, or do they trust the controls? And making the wrong decision can be deadly. Just in GPS, I mean, they say, would you follow someone off a cliff? Or someone else drives off a cliff, would you? I mean, if your GPS told you to drive off a cliff, would you do it? What's happening is that people are becoming so reliant on technology that they're trusting their own judgment less. And applying this to AI, over time, we're just becoming more and more and more and more dependent upon technology. We're going to have automatic driving cars. Would you trust yourself, or would you trust the car? It's even happening in warfare. AI is increasingly on the battlefield. So increasingly it's going to become a question of, because they say, is AI going to replace humans in work, or is it going to work alongside humans? I mean, at the beginning it'll be both, but over time it'll become more and more and more autonomous as it gets more and more and more functions. And then at a certain point, the critical decisions will be just like with the GPS. Do you follow the AI, or do you follow your own intuition? And the interesting thing is that, a lot of people alive today, if they're older, they have that intuition built up over years of experience. I mean, I was alive for quite a while before the internet existed. So technology before the internet, I think, before smartphones, was perhaps a little bit less directive. Human autonomy, I think, in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years with the internet and with GPS and with, other technologies has become more directive in terms of making our decisions for us or guiding us. And, increasingly in the future, it's going to be a question of, do you trust yourself? Were you raised to trust yourself? And what are the dangers of not trusting yourself? What are the dangers of overriding the technology or trying to do so?